power to create wealth starts with thinking and talking it. You have to think in a certain way to create wealth. No one ever increased and created wealth by studying poverty and thinking about poverty. So your thought affects your productivity. Think poverty, reap poverty. Change your mouth, things will change. Change how you think, change how you talk, and things will begin to change. How to develop a millionaire mindset. A millionaire mindset. Because look, let me leave you with this thought from the beginning. Whatever you become, particularly in the area of finance, has a lot to do with your mind and your mouth. M&M. Your mind and your mouth. Or let's do T&T. You think and you talk. You think and you talk. Your mind and your mouth. So many people do not realize that if it's going to be, it's up to you. If it's going to be, it's up to you. Your mind, your thinking has a lot to do with where you are now and where you will be in the subsequent years to come. So you've got to learn how to form a clear mental picture of what you want, because you can only transmit an idea you have. Let us imagine the late Steve Jobs impressed upon his staff at Apple the need for a phone without a keyboard. At that time, BlackBerry dominated the world. But BlackBerry had a weakness. It had press buttons. And his staff thought, how can that be? A phone without a keyboard, or rather, keyboards which you press one at a time and sometimes it gets stuck. He wanted something which it practically is part of the electronics of it. And today, Apple becomes one of the dominating telephones in the world. It started as a thought until it became a reality. Your thoughts must have to affirm your desire for wealth creation, not a mere experience. The challenge for the poor is that, unlike the wealthy, poor people just want to touch money. They just want to experience wealth. They want to be able to say, I once knew wealth. But with the wealthy, they believe that they were created to handle wealth and to have it in abundance. So today I want you to know that God and you can make it happen. No one ever creates wealth or start the creative power of wealth creation by a mere spending time on ill-informed longing and vague desires. You know, when people want to create wealth, they do not realize that, look, you can't just have a longing for it or base your desire for wealth creation on ill-informed desires and ideas. You have to think. You know, as a man thinks, so is he. Have a clear mental picture of how you want to look when you have the wealth. It is part of your journey. Because you see, you think and you talk. Your mind and your mouth shape your future. Just imagine somebody designed the shirt I'm wearing. They saw it in their mind. Probably it was an out of the regular kind of design, but they saw it and they went on to make it happen. In the same vein, you've got to learn how to see what you want, have a clear picture. Spend a lot of time contemplating the picture of the wealth you would like to create. The more clear and definite the picture of wealth creation is, the more you can achieve it, because your desire then increases. If you spend time thinking in a particular area, you find your mind oscillating around it. Let me give you a test. Have you noticed every time you thought, I would like to buy a Toyota Corolla, that's the most popular Toyota on earth, you begin to notice Toyota Corollas everywhere. It's amazing. It was always there, but because your mind had not been taught to garner Toyota Corollas and look, you missed it. But the moment you begin to look out for Toyota Corollas, you see it everywhere. In fact, your hand also wants to now Google and search for Toyota Corolla. Same thing with wealth creation. If it's in your mind and in your mouth, you begin to see it and you begin to say it. You begin to see it, you begin to say it. The more clear and definite the picture is, the more likely your life moves in that direction. Your thought must be accompanied by an unwavering faith that the things are already yours. You just need to take possession of it. So if you begin to see it and say it, that one day I'm going to create wealth, I'm going to handle it, it is going to happen. In the holy book, the Bible, it says, whatsoever thing you desire. So there has to be a passion for it, a desire for it. In other words, you've got to see the things you want as if it's already around you for the reality of it to hit you. If you don't see it, you don't say it. And if you don't say it, you don't have it. It's amazing. Even in the poorest of nations, there is still wealth somewhere. While some people focus on the poverty, someone else focuses on the abundance. He sees the opportunity. Even in crisis, people see opportunities. I'd like you to imagine a refugee camp. 100,000 people displaced because of a civil war in their nation. And they have had to move out and create a refugee camp. The United Nations decides these refugees are human beings and they needed to be protected and given some care. Did you know that the United Nations will engage a company to provide water for these 100,000 refugees? Let us imagine that a bottle of water provides a special price. It's 50 cents. So that would be 50 cents bottle of water, 100,000 in the morning. Did you know what that comes to? That is $50,000 in the morning, $50,000 in the afternoon, and $50,000 in the evening, every day. And guess what? Do you know who pays for it? You and I. And you may be saying, how? Because our nations are member states of the United Nations and have to make yearly contribution. And the United Nations takes the money to take care of this refugee situation. I've not even talked about the food the refugees will eat. I've not talked about the company that will supply all the tents that these refugees will stay in. I've not talked about the company that will supply all the blankets that these refugees will stay in. Do you see how one person sees a crisis, some other person sees opportunities in every nation? Matter of fact, I might just be slightly controversial here by saying the United Nations has a presence on ground in the Democratic Republic of Congo since 1961. Because there has always been a refugee problem somewhere in that country. Whereas it is probably one of the wealthiest nations in the world, potentially, because it has the largest deposit of all the minerals in Africa. So how do you see things? See things you want as if it is already around you. And it will begin to be that your mind walks towards it and your hand begins to go towards it. Dwell in the mental picture you see. Hold on to the mental ownership of what you see. If you see wealth and you say, I'm going to be part of those whom this wealth will be theirs, then all the things we've been teaching at the Wealth Master class comes together. The principles of hard work, duty, changing your mind, the way you think, investment, now begins to work. Because you see, even if you are taught to invest, if your mindset have not changed, you will not. So you've got to learn to understand. If it's going to be, it's up to you, but your mind must see it. So don't waver. Change your mind, change your mouth, things will change. Change how you think, change how you talk, and things will begin to change. Then you've got to learn how to repeat the right thing. But repeated words are not enough. You hold a vision with unshakable sense of purpose, and that vision becomes a reality. You must see it. You see, your perception produces your reception. If you can't perceive it, you can't conceive it. If you don't conceive it, you won't believe it. If you don't believe it, you won't receive it. Let me go through again. It's a good alliteration for you. If you can't perceive, you can't conceive. If you don't conceive, you won't believe. If you don't believe, you won't receive. Or let me do it slightly different. If you can't perceive it, you can't believe. And if you don't believe, you won't conceive. And if you don't conceive, you won't receive. But if you can perceive it, then you begin to believe. And if you believe, then you begin to conceive it. You begin to carry it in the womb of your trust and your belief, in the womb of your ability to achieve everything around you. The television, the phone, the iPad, or laptop from where you're watching me was once a perception that became a belief. The belief became a conception, and the conception became a reality. The power to create wealth starts with thinking and talking it. You cannot spend your life, don't forget this. You can't spend your life studying poverty when your desire is riches. Honestly, from now on, you observe your television, most movies, most mini martinis knock wealth. Whereas the guys who produce these programs are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, but they help us perpetuate a lie. They make us have an attitude towards wealth. So no one ever got rich by studying poverty and thinking about poverty. No one. No one ever increased and created wealth by studying poverty and thinking about poverty. So don't talk, don't investigate, or concern yourself with poverty. If anything, you can help people who are in a poor situation. But if you want to create wealth, in fact, you must start with this concept that poor can't help poor. Poor cannot help poor. It is when you've created wealth that you are able to help people. The mental image of wealth and poverty cannot reside in the same mind. One has to make room for the other. So if you want to create wealth, you have to have this thing that makes you not justify poverty or make statements that make room for it. You begin to clear your mind. You begin to prepare your mind to welcome wealth, not as a bad thing, but as a good thing, because you do more good with wealth than you could ever. I don't even know what you could do with poverty. There is nothing you could use to poverty to do. But rather with wealth, you can change lives, you can sponsor people, you can help, you can create communities, you can you can build homes for people who lack one. You can pull people out of lack. You can help people enter dimensions they've never entered before. Listen, you are not insensitive or heartless if you refuse to study, see, or pity poverty. Because this aspect of our teaching at the Wealth Masterclass is a strong one. And you need to reach that place where you tell yourself, I am not heartless for refusing to study poverty, see poverty, or pity poverty. Because something inside us wants to begin to make room and feel sorry for poverty and say, well, it's not their fault. It's just life. It's the government. Many times in third world nations and even in the first world, so to say, it may have truly been some systems the government created. But like I'm teaching today at the Wealth Masterclass, I'm letting you know, if it's going to be, it's up to you and up to me. Your mind and your mouth have a lot to do with your financial status. If I can't change your think and talk, I cannot change what comes into your hand. But if I can change your thinking and your talking, I can change what comes into your hand. If it's going to be, it's up to you. So what do? Use your willpower to keep your mind off the subject of poverty. Off the subject of poverty. Stop adding yourself to the company of the poor. Even if you don't have physical money now, think rich thoughts. See yourself as a wealth creator. Look for some capacities you have, some abilities you already have, and you will be amazed that you are gifted, you are awesome, you are wonderful. There are great things you could do, amazing things you could do that will begin to make wealth come to you. Most of the things we now have to buy or subscribe or pay for never existed. Somebody saw a problem and solved it. My watch solves a time problem. My glasses solves a sight problem. Everything around you solves a problem. And once people are able to now work in the area of the problem they solve, they charge you for it. So, you are gifted. There is a gifting about you. It may even just be natural talent. There are people who are using just their fingers for modeling, and it creates wealth for them. There are those for whom just their eyes is their modeling, and it creates wealth for them. So you are gifted one way or the other. Everything man fashions with his hands must first start in his thought. Man cannot shape anything without thinking first. It's not possible. It has to first be a picture he sees in his mind, then it becomes a creation he makes. The Wright brothers joined a group of people who suddenly began to think of creating a machine that makes man to fly. There were several attempts by different people, but it was the Wright brothers who were the first to truly take off and stay in the air for less than a minute, but entered the world record as the first official people to fly. Their flight was for less than a minute, but they became the first officially known as people who had flown. They saw it in their mind. They put together mechanical trappings. They obeyed the law of aviation to some degree and gained some thrust and lift off. But they saw it in their mind. What do you see? First, it is a thought. Then material is taken from nature to give shape to that thought. Look at this cup. First, it was a thought. Then somebody thought, let's create what we can use to drink. Before man created this, he would use what nature provided, calabash, some wood that was carved with which he scooped water. In fact, some people are more primitive. They fold leaves and used to scoop water. But then he found that if he took sand from the sea and put the sand under incredible pressure, sand will melt and become glass. This is sand. But it started as a man's thought. And so when you and I buy beautiful, even crystal, was once ordinary sand that went under amazing pressure, particularly sometimes underground, and became crystal. And if it is glass, it was also sand that was put under pressure. Let's not even talk about diamond. Diamond was once sand that went under pressure, and or charcoal or coal that went under pressure and moved from coal to diamond. Nature is where everything we use comes from, but it takes the ability to find it. The good book, the Bible says, it is the glory of God to conceal, and it is the glory of man to reveal. God conceals. In fact, it says it's the glory of kings to reveal. So you become a king in your domain if you have the ability to see upon a tree, the ability to turn it to paper. So this paper in my hand was once a tree in the bush. Somebody saw that tree, ground it to powder, poured water, it became pulp, put it under a machine, pressurized it, and pressed the water out and removed all the drag, heated it, and it became paper. These are granules of a tree that eventually became a paper. First, it was the thought. Then the material is taken from nature to give shape to the thought. Man can form things in his thought. I could describe things that I've never seen before, even as I sit here. Can you imagine a beautiful ball that travels at 3,000 kilometers per hour and has the ability to spin on the outside, but inside it is stable? And that same ball travels from where I am seated to another country. And because it has GPS inside it, it lands. You can see it to some degree in your mind. I just described what does not exist at the moment except in science fiction. In fact, if you notice, science fiction of 20 years ago is now science fact. There was a time 20 years ago we would see people who would, in some science fiction film, they will have a watch on which they watch a video and they are given instruction or telling someone, I'll be home very soon. And now it's a fact. And now it's a fact. iPhone has iWatch, and you can watch video on your iWatch. It's become a fact. That's what I'm trying to challenge you. So, but if you occupy your mind with the dregs of lack and poverty and limitations, that's all you will see. Because your mind is the workshop of your future. Your mind is the workshop of your future. What your mind sees, your mouth talks. What your mouth talks, your mind believes. Mind and mouth, thinking and talking. Man can form things in his thoughts. Wealth creation requires thinking in a certain way. You have to think in a certain way to create wealth. I have seen friends, relations, cousins, brothers. No matter what you tell them, they have a certain way of looking. They are in financial challenges, but they've not changed their think and they've not changed their talk. They would rather beg and have their needs temporarily met rather than change their think and thought and the way they handled wealth. Wealth creation requires thinking in a certain way. To think wealth when surrounded by poverty requires the power of the mind. The one who acquires such mind becomes a mastermind. I repeat, to think wealth when you are surrounded by poverty requires a certain mind. And the one who acquires such a mind becomes a mastermind because he saw what others didn't see. That's why you'll find great corporations founded by a person who was once poor. Founder of Sony once used to sell food as a street hawker. From there moved to electronics. From electronics created things and then made even cars. Many companies, particularly that come out of Asia, the founders were born in lack and poverty, and they graduated as they saw the capacity to create wealth. In fact, in today's world, 89% of today's millionaires in most economies did not inherit wealth. They are nouveau-riche, new wealth. Most of them. Some of them were born in stark poverty. Stark poverty. But they saw the ability and thought the thoughts that led to wealth creation. The thought that led to wealth creation. Why thought? Because listen, if you only think of not being able to do a thing, then you will not be able to. I like you to imagine in my hand the insect, the bumblebee. The bumblebee has wings that are not shaped aeronautically for flight. But the bumblebee flies. Why? Because the bumblebee does not know the law of aeronautics. The day somebody tells the bumblebee, your wings are not shaped for flight, you cannot fly, the bumblebee will struggle to fly. Most times people have noticed that when a baby is born, up to the first few months, if you put the baby in water, the baby swims. Naturally. Swims, knows what to do with the leg and the arms. The baby swims. But as the baby begins to grow, we in the environment begin to teach him to fear water, and the capacity to swim leaves him. Because your think and your talk determines the way life is. Deal with your underlying beliefs. Some of us, we probably are in the place where we want to create wealth, but our underlying beliefs come from our background. Maybe background like where they told you, oh, if you have a very good degree, you will have a comfortable life. Yeah, that's fine. But you will always be an employee. And you can be sacked. And you cannot create the wealth that leads to a million as an employee. In fact, if you're watching this video in Western Europe or America or Canada, the chances are that for your degree you took loan from the banks. Do you know what happens? Then you are in debt. Some of you ended with 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 pounds debt for first degree. And you chose courses like psychology, sound engineering, some of the courses that will disappear in a few years' time because those information are going to be available to everyone. Theater arts. 99% of good actors did not study theater arts. And you went and sat in the university for 4 years taking 12,000 pounds per year to learn how to act. While you have been an actor since your mother gave birth to you. Now you are saddled with debt from the beginning of your life. At 23 or 24, when you had your first degree, you had 40,000 pounds hovering over your life. So you owe, and so to work you go. We're teaching you today how to bypass that and create wealth. Change your thinking, change your talking. The mindset you have determines if you become a champion or not. If you alter your thinking to be in consonance with your dreams of wealth, if you alter your thinking to be in consonance with your dreams of wealth, you begin to see opportunities everywhere. You know, as a man who teaches wealth creation, I usually just smile to myself whenever I enter the London train. I don't nowadays, but I do. For example, if I travel, when the train picks you from, when you take the train from the departure place to go to where your planes are, you see people opening newspapers. Poor people love sports page. Wealthy people go to where the stocks and shares are. You just know straight away. And you could even tell by the way they dress. And it's amazing. It's amazing how the same poor person is ready to make noise about the club he supports. But he has never thought about the fact that his money is being made to build, is being gotten to build that club. The mindset you have determines if you become a champion or not. It determines it. Think wealth and you will begin to attract wealth. When you think wealth, you begin to attract wealth. We're not just teaching you like, this is not a magnetizing thing, but because it is now your thought, your eye begins to be tunnel vision to see opportunities, to see where the favors are, to see the things you can achieve. Your thought is the root which supports and determines your fruit. Root, fruit. Let us imagine this is a tree. This is the fruit. This is the root. If there is no root, there be no fruit. If there is no root, there be no fruit. If the root is good, the fruit will be good. So many people focus on the fruit. They do not take care of the root. So if your thought is good, if your thought is deep, if your thought is strong, if your thought is full of good nutrients and has good source, your fruit will be good. My home in Africa overlooks the lagoon. The land in front are planted certain banana trees, just about 1/2 meter tall. And within 1 year, we harvested, we planted about 7. Within 1 year, the ones that are closer to the water, who have deep roots, good roots, produce good fruit. Big bunches. We harvested 3 big bunches out of the 7. We had planted 3 by the waters. The 3 immediately produced big bunches. Your root affects your fruit. Your thought affects your productivity. Think poverty, reap poverty. Think good thoughts, wealth creation thoughts, produce wealth creation. Listen, this teaching, this session of the Wealth Masterclass is going to be one of the most radical and life-changing. It is going to hit you bam to the point that you want to argue, criticize. What's wrong with being poor? Nothing is wrong with being poor if the person desires that. But if you want to make a change, if you want to make an impact on your world, if you want to make a difference, if you want to help people in need, you can't stay on the same level. You can't stay in lack and help the people who are lacking. The only reason wealthy people responded to Bill Gates to give him billions of dollars to help cure malaria, feed people, rescue the girl child and give her education out of Afghanistan, etc., is because he has wealth. They wouldn't put it in his hand if he is himself struggling. So listen, think wealth and you will find that you are attracting it. Your thought is the root which supports and determines your fruit. Your thought is the root which supports and determines your fruit. Bad thought, that's bad root. There'll be bad fruit. Poor thoughts will produce poor fruits. Good roots will produce good fruit. And like I told you, those banana bunches, because they were so close to the water, each of the bunches, the banana they had were full and robust. Full and robust. Your thought is so important. Let me put it this way. Your inner world creates your outer world. Your inner world creates your outer world. You can't see my mind, but if my mind always flows only towards lack, embarrassment, what I don't have, what I don't have, what I don't have, I will perpetually live in the world of what I don't have. In fact, the chances are I will write songs about what I don't have. So, but if my mind begins to think, hey, there are so many things I can achieve, I can make a difference, I'll begin to see that I'm gifted in certain areas. I'll begin to look for a problem to solve. I'll begin to find those issues that trouble my mind, and I'll begin to find solutions for them. Thoughts lead to feelings. Feelings lead to action, and your action produces the result. Your thought leads to the way you feel, and your feelings lead you to act on it, and your actions produce the result. Nikola Tesla, the great scientist that came out of Eastern Europe to come and live in the United States of America, his feelings and thoughts was how to bring solution to different things. Electricity, microwave. Edison, his thoughts and feelings was how to conduct electricity so that it can be used effectively to light homes and to use in industry. That thought became a feeling, the feeling became an action, the action became a result. Everything around you that solves a problem first started as a thought in somebody's mind. Look at me, I'm talking to you today and there is a cordless microphone around me. Somebody observed that all microphones that used to have long cables connected to some machine somewhere, there were always a cog in your wheel when you moved, they had limits, you couldn't move around. So a transmitter system was created so that the cordless mic, as long as it has a transmitter, you could go as far as probably 100 meters, 200 meters, 500 meters, depending on the strength, or sometimes 1,000 meters. Somebody solved that problem, so they charge us how much they want to sell it. You don't like it, go create yours. Look at the iPad. It has become a simple, it's like a seamless, one-size-fits-all computer, something you can use, watch a movie, do your work, store information, etc. When the computers first came, when personal computers first came, the memory was so small, 286, 586. In fact, the memory on my phone today is equal to probably 500 586 computers. I think must be even more than 500 of those ones. Just this tiny thing. That meant that somebody thought of solving problems. So everything begins with your thought. If I can change your think and talk, I can change your wealth creation. Rich ways of thinking lead to rich actions. The rich way of thinking lead to rich actions. Richard Branson finds himself, I think, somewhere in Florida in the 70s or 80s. He's about to fly to a Caribbean island. Suddenly the flight is canceled. In fact, the airline went bust. The airline went bust and they are all stuck. They're supposed to go to the Caribbean island. The airline went bust and everybody's there. Oh my God, what are we going to do? Oh, my ticket money. Oh, all our money is lost. Being Richard Branson, I've always been the person who thought outside the box. He just stepped out, went and hired a private plane that can seat many passengers. Right, signs the contract, comes back into the airport and makes an announcement. So and so place, all of you whose ticket was lost and you still want to go for so and so amount, there's an airline ready to go. They said, what's the name of the airline? He had no name. Then, Virgin. That's how Virgin Atlantic was created. He solved the problem that day, and it became the way he began to solve the same problem. So listen, you should run your thoughts, not your thoughts running you. I repeat, you should run your thoughts, not your thoughts running you. All monies originate from thought. All monies. Monies originate from thought. So you have small, it originated from thought. You have a lot, it originates from thought. Thoughts birth ideas. Ideas birth decisions. Decisions lead to actions. Actions bring results. I start again. Thoughts birth ideas. Ideas make you decide, and decisions lead to action, and your action produces results. Once you take an action, results follow. And it is better to act and have results and even struggle with it and learn from the failure than not to do anything at all. Everything you see around you was from an intangible idea. The iPhone did not exist prior to the day it was conceived, believed, and breathed. The iPad was once a thought. The watch on my wrist, in fact, was a thought somebody came up with, which was resisted by Swiss makers in Switzerland. The original thought maker of watches that use battery, when he presented it to Swiss people, they just said it's not possible. It can't be. For a watch not to have a balanced wheel, it's not possible. But the rest is history. What shall we say now of cars without engine but just an electric system? It is amazing. It is amazing. So what you need to start business is not capital, not cash, but a thought in a certain direction, expressed as an offering of service. I told you of Richard Branson. Stranded along with other passengers, he had a thought in a certain direction, the direction of wealth creation. He could have stood there, stamping his feet on the ground, musing and complaining with other passengers and say, well, what can we do? We just have to look for a way out of here. But then went out, rented a plane, took a risk, expressed it as a service he was offering to other passengers who were stranded. They paid. He created an airline that day, provided comfort for those people, and new things began from that day. New information, new copyrights began, new patents. I'm a life member, life gold class member of Virgin Atlantic, which started as a man's